Hello everyone, I'm Justin, and for today's video, we are jamming. Today, we're doing something different. Rather than your typical 12-episode anime, today we're looking at a movie. Based off an original manga about the world of jazz, for today's video, we're looking at Blue Giant. Now, for those who don't know, Blue Giant is a manga serialized between 2013 and 2016. It has spanned 4 sequels that are mostly just main arcs of an overall story. That story is of Dai, a high school student that falls in love with jazz and decides to put all his life into learning saxophone and becoming the best sax player in the world. But before we begin, here is a fair warning that there will be a few spoilers ahead. But I will try not to mention the last plot twist of the story. And with that said, let's move on with the video. Okay, so let me preface this by saying that I have zero knowledge of jazz music in general, and I personally don't know how to appreciate it. Honestly, when the guy first starts playing, I was sure everyone will say that he was trash, but apparently he was a prodigy. And on the other side, I have never read the manga, so I don't have a frame of reference to know if this was a good adaptation from the source material. So my review comes from the perspective of an anime watcher only. Well, that's not totally true. After watching the anime, I felt like there were a few things that I didn't understand. So I did skim through the manga, and after that, I felt like a lot of things made more sense. But let's start at the beginning. The story centers around Dai, as he leaves his hometown to go to Tokyo and pursue a career in music. He crashes on a classmate's couch, goes around different jazz bars in Tokyo, and finally meets Sawabe, a young pianist with his same love for jazz. Together they start a band, and soon his classmates joins them as a drummer. The catch is that this classmate, called Tamada, is a complete newbie to music, but thanks to his passion, Dai accepts him in the group. And that was the first thing that I kind of felt was odd. Keep in mind that this was a 2-hour movie, and the first 45 minutes were basically spent on character development for Tamada. Not that it was wrong, but I thought that the story would be about Dai. Anyway, we see how the group slowly gains popularity and Tamada slowly improves his skills. And honestly, his journey felt really compelling. Especially with that one guy that saw his first performance, complimenting him later on for how much he has improved, all the way to his first drum solo in the last performance. Okay, that was some good development for a minor character. Let's move on to the main protagonist in Dai. And now we have the character development of the pianist. Well, if you thought that 45 minutes of development was too much, well, the rest of the movie is spent of developing Sawada's story. How he studied the piano for 14 years, his love for jazz, and his dream of performing in So Blue, the biggest venue of jazz music in Japan. As well as his clashes with Dai over creative differences, as well as his mechanical way of playing over Dai's style of feeling the music.
君全然ダメだ
Seeing his development felt even better than Tamada's. Learning about his mistakes, humbling himself and overcoming his creative wall, and finally reaching his dream. And God, the animation done during his solo performance in So Blue was incredible. But if there is one thing to complain about, it has to be the overuse of CG. You see, at moments the animation looked incredible, especially when they are doing close-ups of the characters. And even some moments in CG didn't look that bad in a few of the close-ups. But when showing the full group or giving a look at Dai's swing movements, The CG looks terrible, and honestly, it felt like it was abstracting from the whole story. But enough about that. Let's move on to the part of the movie where we get Dai's character development. What do you mean he doesn't get a character development? Now, to explain this, I first need to explain what happened in the movie and the manga. You see, the movie starts at the point where Dai goes to Tokyo and ends with him traveling around the world. Well, that covers from chapter 30 all the way to the end in chapter 80. But that means that we didn't get anything from the first 30 chapters, which, as you guessed, are the character development of Dai. Learning about jazz, working in a jazz bar to earn enough for a saxophone, his brother helping him out, learning saxophone and earning the respect of his teacher and customers. All of that was left out from the movie. And it felt kind of weird, because this was supposed to be his story. But he was mainly put on the background in order to develop the other characters. And don't get me wrong, for the story in the movie, it really pays off. Especially with the last plot twist of the movie that honestly got me a bit tear-eyed while watching it. But it felt a bit weird that at the end of the story, now we're expected to forget about these two guys as our main guy leaves for another place to further his career, and we expect to follow him, even when we have no knowledge about his background. This is a really good story about passion and giving your body and soul to the art that you love. Even with those minor things, I still highly rate this movie. But if you're planning on watching this movie, I would recommend you to read the first 30 chapters of the manga to get a bit more invested. As for the music, I can't personally give a good opinion on this as jazz is not my thing. But I did think that a few of the songs were good and I would listen to them again. All of the music was made by a famous jazz musician called Hiromi Uehara, so I guess it must be good, but let me know what you think. Overall, this is a story about love and passion for music. And if you like to see someone giving the role for something that they love, or if you enjoy the world of jazz music, then give Blue Giant a try. I'm sure that you will not regret it. And with that said, we come to the conclusion of this anime review. What do you guys thought of Blue Giant? Let me know in the comments below. Until then, see you guys next time.